Um, I'm basically a tech lead from Allstate, and especially as you know, Allstate is a large corporation, a large enterprise, and they have a big division called roadside assistance, which is the equivalent of AA in America and Canada and different parts of the world. And I'm a tech lead with Allstate Roadside Assistance, and I just want to share today one of the great stories in my experience working with Allstate as a tech lead who's leading a group of engineers spread across the globe, really, to come up with some innovative products. And my talk generally is going to be at a higher level because I know that a lot of technical details have gone in with the talks that we already had, and I don't want to duplicate some of the technical details, but our story is unique, and I want to share that story of how we reached where we are. As you all know, with roadside assistance, if your car is broken down on the side of a road, first thing that you do is get the helpline of whatever AA and give them a ring and tell that, I have an accident or my car is broken down, would you come and help me, my policy covers, etc., whatever. So ARS, Allstate Roadside Services, was at that place where there was a lot of manual call center calls happening. People were getting stuck on the side of the road. They would take up their phone and they would call people. So from there, let me just stand. Okay, this is just a disclaimer saying that the views is not necessarily our company's, but it's more personal. Okay, so we started with a lot of manual call center people and call center application operating, and from there we had a great idea. I just quoted George Bernard Shaw here. The possibilities are numerous once we decide to act and not react. And sometimes in our IT experience with working with large enterprises and corporations is that people get overwhelmed and all the time they are reacting to issues. And what happens is that when you react to issues, you kind of go inside a box or a hole, and it's hard to come out of that place. But if you start to act and proactively work on things, the possibilities are immense and possibilities are a lot. So in Allstate, we were in that call center scenario where a lot of manual work going on with helping people, rescuing people from the side of the road or through accidents and issues of life. So we thought we had this great idea. Why don't we Uberize roadside assistance? Who heard about Uber? Do you understand Uberize? Yeah, exactly. So we are taking this roadside assistance to an entirely different digital realm, right? Where we are going to provide an end-to-end digital service. We are going to Uberize roadside assistance, and this is going to be the first system that is going to Uberize the roadside assistance and make it available for all. Anybody stuck on the side of the road, you take your app, press the button in your app, or there are so many different interfaces to this, and somebody else sitting in their home who thinks that I can provide roadside assistance, I have some basic skills, I know how to change tire, I know how to jumpstart a battery, and you can register with our company, and you can go and help somebody and make some money. So that is Uberizing the roadside assistance, opening it up for the public. So we had this great idea, why don't we do that? And we started this great project with our engineers spread across the world, and we had some great architects who came together, and we began setting up this great platform which will Uberize the roadside assistance. And this was a tremendous leap, and this got our company a lot of awards and recognition for doing that. So to do that, what we did is we created a robust platform. We already heard about platforms here. Okay, so to do that, we need a robust platform, a platform that is able to support all these requests coming in and all the different transactions that is going to happen. A very highly available and a platform with a highly available and scalable services. So we created that, and we formed a platform which is robust, which is kind of a two-layer platform which had an outer REST-based thin layer, which will not basically break. You can fire in transactions. We tested our outer layer. We load tested it. We stress tested it to make it highly available, and which had that resiliency of taking in millions of requests. So thin outer layer REST-based transaction, which is stateless and which will just pass through to an inner heavy lifting core, which has a lot of asynchronous processing, which is message based, which will enqueue your requests, and based on the kind of requests, there are services there which will dequeue those requests and trigger of asynchronous processing and do all that heavy lifting in the middle. So I don't want to completely give our source recipe, but this is the basic idea of a platform which has a heavy lifting inner layer, which is message based, because we found that a message based system, a platform, can easily distribute the load, and we can cherry pick what we want to do with it, and an outer REST layer can just take in all the requests coming in from different channels, and which will not basically break. And there is as you can understand, this platform, there is a lot to it, but we have not enough time to discuss all these things here. But from there, and this was a successful platform, and with this platform we had channels of mobile applications coming in. We developed mobile app and published it to Google Store and Android Store and Apple Store, etc. So people started downloading these apps, and now there are interaction coming in from app. We had white label web pages out there from where people can request the roadside assistance from web. So this platform went on well. And now then came the idea number 2. Now that we have this wonderful platform, what is our next step? Why don't we expose this platform as a whole to service, so that there are other companies and enterprises out there that can leverage this platform, and we can make money out of it, or they can make money out of it, and they can reach out to their customers and help them, and in that process it is a win-win situation. They make money, we make money, and we go and help. It's not about money, it's about helping others. It's about providing roadside assistance, and whoever is on the side of the road, provide them with a good service with less effort and less money, so that people, rescuers, can come to rescue them with a very short time scale. For example, right now, if your car is broken down, for example, from Belfast to Dublin, if your car is broken down in the middle, somebody to come and rescue you, it may take a couple of hours or 1 or 2 hours. With this platform, we are trying to reduce the time that it takes for somebody to reach a person who is stuck on the side of the road, so that the time is reduced from 1 or 2 hours to half an hour, because we are finding the right person who is able to rescue them, who is closer to that fellow who is broken down on the side of the road, and to provide them with the best service. So from that came the idea number 2. Why don't we expose this platform as a service for other companies to leverage, for other enterprises to leverage? So this is a great idea, platform as a service. We are all very familiar with it. For platform as a service, you need a robust platform, a platform that is scalable, a platform will not break, a platform that is secure. And if your application and software, if you think it can be useful to others, your application or your platform is a best candidate, is a good candidate for platform as a service. Are they generic enough? If yes, the software that you are developing, you can sell. You can make it as a platform which others can use. So going to the next one. So yeah, so we opened up our platform, and this is a slide that shows that for each of our mobile screens that you have, we have an associated API that is exposed outside. So when you open up your platform as a service, it is going to be, you are going to open it up as a set of APIs, which and then synchronize it. We call it as API orchestration. You are going to orchestrate your API so that the folks who are going to use, those who are going to leverage your platform, can synchronize their API and orchestrate it so that they can fully utilize your platform to provide the service that you want to provide to your customer. It's not about one API. This is called, we call it as API orchestration. It is how these APIs work in synchronously together so that your platform can be leveraged and you can offer the best possible service to your customers. So there are challenges to that. When once we opened up our platform as a service, we then faced challenges of how to market it. One of the advantages, and at the same time there are disadvantages. One of the advantages of working with a large corporation is sometimes money is not an issue. They finance it. On the downside, if they see that the return on investment is low, they can quickly scrap it. Right? If they finance it, they want to see the return on investment of what for the APIs, and if the return on investment is low, then it is scrapped. So with that comes the pressure to make it work. So with that in mind, after a few trial and errors, I found out that there are a few key things that we should ensure that your platform as a service performs. Number one is the API should be well-designed API. And then there is the scalability and highly available. The API should not crash in between. A scalable and a highly available API and a secure API. And from that comes one of the most popular way to expose platform as a service is through a developer portal or a developer community portal. And there are many portals out there that you can go and visit. So we exposed our APIs through a portal, and that is the first portal down there in that list called developer.arity.com. And through this portal, all our roadside assistance APIs are exposed out there for developers to consume. There are so many other developer portals that developers can use to leverage so many different things. For example, if you look at developer.google.com, you got a lot of wonderful APIs that Google offers, for example, map APIs and things like that. Now, going back to the RESTful API design, which is so critical in terms of our how you want to expose your APIs. So if you look into this slide there, on your right hand side, you have your platform, the internal systems, and with that internal systems, you got an API team which is going to leverage your platform's internal system and expose it as an API. And as your API is broadcasted through a developer portal, you got a world of APIs sitting out there. And on the other end of the world, there are application developers who are looking at these APIs and seeing which one suits me the best. And they will leverage it, and then they will incorporate into their app and their application, etc. Let me go to the next one. So application developers are raison d'etre for APIs, which is basically developers are the reason for APIs. This is a very interesting statement because if you think about any UI is designed for the customer, right? If you go to a website and see a very colorful, beautiful website, they are designed by UX engineers for the users out there, for the common man out there, but not for APIs. The reason APIs are there is because of application developers. APIs are for developers. It's for us and it's for you. So Because developers are looking at those APIs, what we found out is that as we exposed our APIs to this world, to outside world, for them to consume, we got into pressure to market our APIs because there were companies out there like different companies, Verizon or Google or Apple. Their developers are looking at our APIs, and some of them are saying that your API stinks. It is not workable. Some of them say, yeah, it is good. So as the developers are looking at it, we got into this pressure of your APIs should be your portal should be self-documented, and your API should be so easy to onboard that any developer who's looking at it can easily onboard that API. So APIs are for the developers, and they are for the benefit of application developers. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so pragmatic RESTful API design is a design problem. It is all about designing your APIs that makes it very marketable to other developers. Going to the next. What is wrong with this picture? This is in relation to API designing. So as you look at this picture, what's wrong with it? Yeah, it's a push door, but there is a handle. That handle is not needed, right? This is a wrong design. This is not needed. So when you say push, you just push. There is no need for handle. So again, when you design your API, make it self-evident, that it is self-documented, that whoever looks at the API is able to easily work with it and understand it. What's wrong with this picture? That big handle is redundant. There's already a small handle there that can do the job. You turn the key, pull the lock. Okay, so all these are for API design. So perceived and actual properties of an object gives clues to its operation. So so basically, when the operations of an API, and as you look at that API that is exposed, that should be self-evident that what its operations will be. So let us look at some. These are API design issue. If you look into the world of puppies do know lot of things, right? They need food to eat, and they run around, they play, they do a lot of activities. They live in a wonderful world. Okay. So if you want to design an API that is for these puppies, what are the different functions that you will add to those APIs? So I just listed few of them. But there are some issues with this, the way it is written. Okay, get all dogs or location verify. What location verify? Food needed. So as you look into these functions that are out there related to the API, this is not that specific and self-evident. It looks too generic, right? So what I want to say is that I'll come back to that slide once again. What I want to tell is that when we are designing our platform as a service, what we found out is that it is good to spend 70 to 80% of your time designing the API, which pays off, and just 20 to 30% of the time actually developing it, coding it. Lot of time has to go into how well the APIs are designed and thought out, so that the developer out there is able to easily onboard that APIs. Okay, a puppy's world is a big world. Now, if you look into those functions that I had before and look into how better to code it, there are two different columns there. If you just compare it, when you say get all dogs, it is too generic. Do you want to get all the dogs of the world? So the API has to be bit more explanatory and self-specific. Get all leased dogs. Verify location. Verify veterinarian location. What I'm trying to emphasize here is that the need to think through and design and make the APIs more practical. So keep the simple things simple is the principle behind API design. Make it simple. Okay, so let me go from API design. I don't want to go too in detail into technicality, but from API design into scalability of services. This is a very famous graph that Google put out there. You might have seen this already. This graph shows about shows the scalable pattern of what they actually saw when Nintendo released Pokemon Go. The orange line at the very bottom was their original target. Okay, they thought in the worst scenario, they might go up to the red line there. But actually, when Pokemon Go was released into market, it just took off. It went beyond their worst case scenario, and only because it was deployed in the cloud, or only because it was in the cloud was able to absorb the scalability of the transactions or the service requests that came in. If it would have been an in-house or a private cloud, this might have broken. So this is a great graph to tell us that whenever you are exposing your API outside in the world, you might get shock. Okay, there could be a spike in requests, and if your data center is not able to handle that kind of a scalability, things might break. So it's very, very important to know the scalability of things. So when you think about scalability, the big question is, are we going to go to cloud, or are we going in-house or within our private cloud, or within the enterprise? So adding on to that, the next question is your API open to the world, or it's limited? So this questions has to be answered, right? And you have to think about it. Is the API being exposed to few customers, or it's outside to the world? If it is to the world, you need to think about how you are going to scale, and deploying it to cloud with Amazon Web Service or Google Cloud, etc. is a good idea when you think about the scalability of the services. Then secure your API as much as possible. Authentication, who are you? Who is the client who is going to come in? Authorization, what they can do. We used OAuth to client ID and credentials and user credential as our security authentication and authorization tool. Issuing a bearer token, and using that bearer token, they could go and hit the other APIs that they orchestrated, that the client will orchestrate on their end. And other things to think about is spike arrest, using rate limit and quotas to secure the APIs in case of a bot trying to attack or somebody is trying to hack and bring down the system. So as much as what I'm trying to tell here is that as much as possible, try to secure the APIs. I'm not sure whether there is a 100% guarantee that API will be secured, but from our part as developers, we should try and secure it as much as possible from any threats that might come. Okay, so looking at the future trends of API, when we released our APIs, there were so much interest in bringing our APIs into the car dashboards, so that if your car is broken down on the side of the road, you just say, my car is broken down, right? And the dashboard picks up the voice recognition and interacts with our API. There is our API through Alexia. My car is broken down. I need help. Alexia interfaces with the system. So the future trend is more artificial intelligence, artificial AI going into things. What that means is that there would be more screenless interfaces. More screenless interfaces means more APIs, and the need for well-designed APIs. Okay, so yeah. I guess there are a lot of other things to be told here, but because of our time limitation, I have to stop. But as I quoted George Bernard Shaw before, possibilities are huge. As you start to act on those possibilities, I'm sure you'll get a satisfaction and return, and potentially your businesses can grow. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ribu. Does anyone have any questions about platform as a service or how to design APIs or anything like that they'd like to ask? No.
Are there any examples of kind of public APIs that you would kind of look to as these guys are doing it like
Yeah.
are doing it extremely well, or ones that conversely are very bad? Like what should we look at?
Yeah, we definitely went into internet and looked into few developer portals, and got some good examples. I think I have shown some developer portals out there. So there are portals out there which are very self-explanatory. You just look at it and you know exactly what to do. The APIs are simple, well defined. The elements out there within the API are simple too, and you know that these fields are required and what is this for. So I would say go out there and explore into different developer portals, and for example developer.google.com or even developer.arity.com, which is our developer portal. There are other developer, Ticketmaster and another developer portal. Go through a few of them and just test them out. You can just test those APIs. They are out there for free to be tested. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? No? Okay. So lunch is now going to be available outside. It's sponsored by our friends at Instill, but that's now available. Also during the lunch break, in room 4 there'll be some lightning talks and other bits and pieces happening. So if you finish your lunch quickly, you might want to kind of go and check them out. But thanks again, and final round of applause for Ribu.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No, thank you.